Hello, everyone. Happy Monday, week of May 12th. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Good morning, John. Lots of tariff news, drug price news. We'll have to see once the executive order is signed on that one. Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Patrick. Sterling put in all the trade deals. We have a 90-day pause with China. China's dropping their tariffs to 10%. We're dropping ours to 30% for 90 days. And again, Sterling's put in some of the like it's implausible tariffs on China go below 10%. There's another crazy statement in here. Trump viewed 80% as not an embargo. 80% would still essentially be an embargo. We'll see what happens with that. Sterling also put in some earnings. Thank you for that. There was not much on earnings. It's all going to be tariff driven. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Daniel. How do I approach days like today? Well, as far as intraday, if you weren't already long, we've already blown a lot of momentum out. I mean, S&P is already up 3%. I will look at today for any kind of, because there's still probability says we could still hit those 87.5. We've hit the 75% harmonic levels. We could still hit the 87.5. So I'd be watching for strategic pullbacks. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Connor. Good morning, Heinrich. So that's where we sit. Let's see what's coming out this week. Let's see what's coming out. We got Kugler speaking today, but not much. We got 3 and 6 month bill auctions. Today is very quiet. It's all going to be, again, you still got the executive order when you sign for drug prices. Okay. I think we still just need to reform our whole healthcare system. Tomorrow, we got CPI Tuesday. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that tomorrow morning, coming out at 8:30 Eastern. So 1 hour before the cash open. Wednesday, we've got Waller speaking, and again, as always, the mortgage information, Jefferson speaking, and the EIA numbers, but a very quiet Wednesday. Thursday, we have the PPI and jobless claims and Philly Fed. So retail sales also on Thursday. Thursday is the big day. Thursday is the big day this week. Lots of stuff on Thursday, and then Friday we got the consumer sentiment numbers for May. These are the preliminary numbers for May. So biggest days this week are Tuesday, then Thursday, and Friday. This morning everything's up except for drug prices. So we'll have to see what that executive order is going to entail in order to drop drug prices. Everything's up across the board, especially Apple. So there was a story out this morning that was like Apple's going to raise prices but not blame it on tariffs. Well, when people see the prices go up, what are they going to assume it is still? And they're still going to be making their Pro and Maxes in China. So we'll see about that. Tesla up 8% after breaking above the 200 on Friday. Little breakout to the upside. But everything up. Telecom services also down a bit. Let's just take a look at the groups. Consumer cyclical, technology, industrial, leading financial. Healthcare is the only thing that's dropping today. Fed watch. Why are my windows resetting? Fed watch we have an 88% for still a pause, and then now a 57% for a potential pause in July again, which only puts in 2 rate cuts. Now we're down to 2 rate cuts with the pause and tariffs. Again, 30% is nothing though. That's still a pretty heavy tariff. That's still going to shake up stuff massively, and could lead to companies cannot absorb all that. So I think you're going to get some pass-through inflation coming on. Fear and greed, still solidly in greed. Schiller PE, what the? Why did you go small on me? 34.70. That's going to pop up today too. Now, Sterling put in news. Earnings, not news, but he put in news too. Again, nothing that's really major. The big things this week after the close, nothing. Nothing that's going to move the markets tomorrow, not much. The big thing is, well, I'll always follow Cisco. Cisco, since the .com, the collapse in the .com, Cisco will always have a place in my heart. But the big things this week are on Thursday. You got Alibaba, you got Walmart, we got Applied Materials after the close. So that's your big day. You got John Deere before the open. The big day I'm paying attention to is Thursday. It seems like a lot of stuff is Thursday. A lot of stuff is Thursday this week. All right. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, PNG. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. Remember, we did have the probability shift. Besides, we had the doubles all play out. We had the doubles all play out and complete. And then we had to close back Monday, the 28th. We had it close above the 62, and I mean that week of the final week of April. We had it close above the 62.5 on a weekly basis, which shifted the probabilities for the 75 and then the 87.5. And I talked about we could easily see not necessarily return to new highs, but a return to the high area, which is we're well on our way to. So now weekly cycles are getting to the top. Daily cycles still heading up. So could we see some more potential upside follow through this week? Yeah, but to the back end of this week, I will be cautious. No. It's all over the place, Christoph. They want tariff revenue. The fentanyl thing's just an excuse. They want to balance out trade. But again, you're not going to bring the manufacturing back here to the extent that you're going to think you are. And a lot of it will be automated if it is, because we don't have the cheap cost of labor. So they want the tariff revenue. But again, how much tariff? You're going to get more tariff revenue now that it's at 30 besides 135 essentially shut down everything. All right, we have a minor level. Let me show you here. We have this prior key breakdown zone, which is at around 58.65 to 58.70. We've already come up and tapped that. We've gone through the 75 harmonic. I'm looking today how we close in relation to this peak back from March. So that's what I'm looking at there. So that's a little minor area of very key support right around 58.40 to 58.50, right where we're trading right now. The bigger pullback, well, I'd watch the 200 again. That was my next minor target after the double, and then the major one was the 75. Above there on continued rally this week, I'm looking at this 59.48, so 59.50 area, then 6,000. Pullback area with the rising rotation zone and the prior breakout area. Remember, we had a potential double top, again, never triggered, and the gap up invalidated that. So my key support, the first level is the prior breakout zone from this key close to the highs. So roughly about 5,700 to about 5,720. We still have a gap on any bigger pullback. That would be to 56.78. But this is the area on any big pullback I'll be watching. On any minor pullback over the next couple days, I'm going to be watching the top of the 4-hour rotation zone. Going into the open, I'm going to be watching the top of the 1-hour rotation zone. All right? So those are the things I'm watching for the pullbacks. Now, if we pulled back to that 1-hour rotation zone, went up and made a little mini double top, and that triggered, then I'd start watching for the little mini pullback. Until that happens, on a breakout higher, the next key area is not till 59.48. We're getting above some very key resistance areas. See, Christoph, you're making too much sense. We got ag products. Beef's already in short supply, yes, and a lot of places won't. We have pork. Again, a lot of people want our cars. So we'll see. Most things we do export before all this. It's still we export services, we export software stuff, we export services, we export technology goods, like from a service perspective. That's going to continue. NASDAQ, again, we hit the 75% harmonic. The 75% harmonic. We have daily cycles still going up in the NASDAQ. We have weekly cycles at the top area. We are not yet overbought on the weekly basis, but getting closer. Key on any pullback here on the NASDAQ is 20,300 on a bigger pullback. And then if it went beyond there, we have a gap fill back to 20,058. Remember, we got the rising rotation zone coming in at the prior breakout level. The next thing, if we do, and this was the key closing area also, which we're above this 20,500. The next key area, if we break above the 75, which is also, I don't have a black line there, but that's also the major breakdown level. You see here that formed a double top. The bigger picture double top from here, which played out also. So 20,231, and then the magnet price is 21,680. Same difference here, much in the 4 hour on any bigger pullback, but going into the open, I'm keeping an eye on the 1 hour rotation zone. The Dow, again, now this might close it above the 62.5 today at least, but we'll have to see if it follows through on the week. The Dow's trading against the 200 simple. Next targets on a continued rally, 42,767, then 43,100. The key pullback levels at the prior break at about 41.5 to 41.6. Russell also had the little mini double top invalidated. Back between the 50 and the 62.5. The 62.5 is also right where the 200 is. We're trading at the harmonic level and the prior key resistance level. We spiked above it a little, but we're pausing right here. Russell is very overbought. So this is a very key. I'm watching how it closes today in relation to these prior highs and this prior closing price back in from the 24th of March at 2,125. The major pullback area on the Russell is right around 2034, 2035. Again, 1 hour, 4 hour rotation zones. So VIX, again, double bottom is invalidated. Now I'm going to start looking for, especially as we get down here, this is going to get to, VIX is going to get crushed from my perspective a little too much, like everything is solved, and it's not. So now I'm especially looking today for any cheap volatility plays. DAX spiking above. We talked last week with the basing at the top, now spiking above and then the reversal. Now I'm just watching for the key DAX pullback into the daily rotation zone. No major topping bar. This is minor topping bar, but we'll have to see how that closes. The notes are breaking down, but since most people understand the yields rising. So yields rising on the 10-year. Looks like I'm going to watch how the high close from the 11th of April. So it looks like yields are breaking out again to the upside. Also 30-year yields are breaking out to the upside. The next key area is still 4.56. Dollar index. We had the inverse head and shoulders, which started channeling with this breakout, took off the channeling, and we hit the second target. So first and second targets hit, stop raised on that. The invalidation point is all the way back at 99 roughly. Going to be watching this. We reacted to the 50 area also, but still we have some more potential upside. So going to be watching for any weakness of pullback plays. Okay, and overall, we're into the weekly rotation zone. We could still see a little more upside, but then I'm going to be watching for a stall and then that secondary reaction back down to see if we get a more substantial bottoming pattern in the dollar index. Crude also following through now. Crude on Friday just closing right below the 62.5 and today following through. hitting that 87.5 and prior key resistance, getting to cycle tops and overbought. So I'm going to be watching for minor topping patterns in here. Gold, big drop here. We do still have a potential weekly double top. You can see it here. This did qualify. This did qualify. It has not. It is against the weekly rotation zone, especially the first target being just in front of there. But it has not triggered yet. It's not even confirmed yet. If this were to rotate back up, it'd be a triple top then. But right now, going to keep an eye on this today, how if we do trade below this key low of 3209.4 to confirm it. And if we close below it, it would technically be a trigger on the daily. I need it also to follow through on the weekly. But it would be daily short-term potential down moves. I have not looked in the last little bit at the lumber gold ratio, so I cannot fault a comment on that. Lumber prices have also been falling because of housing. That's fine, Coco. It fits in my rules. So I'm just telling you what I see. US dollar, Japanese yen. Continuing also getting weaker with dollar strength. But the euro, remember last Thursday triggered the sloppy head and shoulders and has now come down, hit the first and second targets. So would not be surprised to see a little bounce here, then another rollover right here. If we did take out even this 110 and the dollar continued its strength, the magnet price for the euro is 108.75, 108.80. Spiders, again, we're gapping up right around the 75% harmonic, just slightly above that. So that's going to become a minor support. The other key support area now is back at 575. 575. On a continued rally up, remember we are against a very key breakdown level. That's a very key breakdown level. So we have the next key area is about 590 and then 596.80. So that's where we sit with the spiders. Again, before even looking for a gap fill, I'm going to be watching 575 on any pullback this week. The Qs, we're trading 507. We have the 75% harmonic right around 506. I hate when this happens when I can't see the number. 506.20. 506.20 on any pullback to 501.98. Next minor target 513.04. We are above the prior breakdown level. So the key to on any pullback, we have a significant level right there, 500. 500 to 502 is very key support now. Very key support. I don't know if this gap will be filled soon. I believe it will be filled on the next big rollover play, but we could easily still see some more upside. Hey, Dr. M, glad you could tune in. So that's what we still have the probabilities for more upside. Remember, we've been talking about that for a while. We had the capitulation move. We had the doubles that played out. We have the continued upside targets based off the 62.5 rule. So it's just managing longs. And if you're looking to get longs, it would be on any key pullbacks. What else do we have? We have Tesla closing back above the 200. Remember, it invalidated the double, broke to the upside. Next key target on Tesla. Next key target, again, nothing's changed fundamentally with Tesla, but you're playing a little breakout around 327. And then the major target on a continued snapback rally is 351. Apple, retesting its recent little high area. But other than that, I'll be watching. If the Apple does still fall through the upside this week, this 220 is a very key gap fill. sorry, 223.89 is a very key gap fill. That's a very key gap fill on a continued move higher. Meta, remember we did trigger to double. 640.89, but I'm using the 633 to 634 area as the first key target, right in front of the traditional target for at least a stop raise. So that's still chugging along. Amazon, downward close. So technically, it's confirmed it did not technically trigger according to the rules, but Amazon up to the first target. So we'll just track it based off the targets. But that's where it did not technically, because you need an up close on a double bottom, unless you were trying to front run the pattern. So it's already hit the first target. Palantir, again, we still have a gap fill back to 123.77. That would be a key magnet price that I'm going to watch to see if this double top holds. Remember, Palantir is insanely expensive. 520 price to earnings. We just had earnings. Think about that. You just had earnings. All right, yeah, it was a beat, but it does not justify 520. So, I mean, the short-term momentum is still up, but I'm going to be watching to see if this stalls out in the potential mini double top area. If not, if it does continue and breaks through its high area right around this 125, the 132, same targets as before, 132.82. Broadcom, looks like it's definitely going to close above the 62.5, but it's already the horse on some of these. You already had to be long based off of breaking above prior resistance. This was a really nice pullback last week into the 8 EMA with getting above this resistance shelf. Little pullback. You remember one of my key patterns is when you break above key resistance is a pullback to that level, especially with the rising rotation zone, and then the move back up. The next targets are 223.44, and then on a continued rally, you have a really strong resistance shelf right by the 87.5. So that's where we sit today. Yes, we can take a look at IBB. I mean, IBB from a bigger perspective, IBB, we've again had the key breakdown. We got a multi-week rally back into the weekly rotation zone and rotating back down. Little gap up in today. I want to see how it finishes out this week. But right now, there's not a strong buy pattern yet. There is nothing yet. It's reacted at these very key lows. These are your very key low areas which just bounced off of. Now, I'm still watching for a potential rotation back down over the next few days to see if we form a double bottom pattern and these lows hold. Other than that, in short term, there is nothing today. You got the you got the rotation zone overhead, you got the 50 overhead, you have very key resistance. It only eked out a slight little move above that, but was not been able to sustain it. So I'm going to be watching for the bigger potential bottoming pattern in the biotech. All right, MJ? Thoughts on a 110.90 put spread? I wouldn't use that combination. The only way I do that combination is if you started to close below this 107 area. Other than that, if I was going to construct any put spread on this, put the bottom of the puts closer to around 110. Again, I can't give you specific trading advice. See, look where the 87.5 is, right around 110. So if I was going to construct a put spread, that would be my bottom strike price. Okay? And I'd try to recapture something coming down in here if you have a short-term sell signal. All right, that's what I'd be looking for. So I'd be doing something closer to at the money, where it opens at the money, even if it bounces up a little. A 120, 110 would be something I'd be more interested in doing based off of my analysis and the way I structure trades. Hope that makes sense, MJ. All right. With that, let's just peek at it's going to be a massive tick opening today. With the short-term charts, little key support shelf going into the open is right around this 58.40. Remember, if we break below that, I'm looking at the 1 hour coming in about 58.30. All right, so we got the opening. Let's see where the tick opens. Come on, slow. Yeah, we opened above 1,000, but it's already close to 1,500. Already close to 1,500. So I'm watching the tick pullback to make sure we hold the key support levels with the tick pullback. All right. You are welcome, Dr. M. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful trading day. And this is what I watch for. And then we'll leave it at that. Watching for some of these key support areas to hold as the tick pulls back. If we start breaking this key support area, I'll start watching for the 1 hour pullback. And then gauge stuff, it can still be played to the long side, but I'll be watching then for the reaction as we ramp back up in the tick. All right, I shall see everyone tomorrow, and thank you all for tuning in. Bye for now.